Welcome back, listeners, to another interesting episode on the Inner Peace Better Health podcast, the podcast where we explore the practices, the perspectives, and then the people helping us find stillness within and resilience in our everyday lives. Now, listeners, today's episode invites us into the often misunderstood world of self hypnosis and spiritual healing. Now, can the mind truly guide the body back to peace? What does it mean to access inner wisdom through altered states of consciousness? These are some of the questions which, in fact, keep me intrigued when I am thinking about spiritual experiences and also hypnosis. So, my guest today, Elizabeth Catherine, brings over a decade of experience as a hypnotherapist, Reiki Master, and past life regressionist, trained through the Southwest Institute of Healing Arts and Dr. Brian Weiss. Now, her work blends mysticism with mindfulness, and she helps people unlock emotional and energetic healing through self hypnosis and regression. So, whether you are a skeptic or you are a seeker, today's conversation will definitely open new doors to understanding how deep transformation is often closer and quieter than we think. So, with that, Elizabeth, welcome to the show, and I'm really, really happy to have you here with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Okay, so Elizabeth, I guess many of our listeners will have this. Okay, hypnosis. Oh, that is something, it kind of is full of tricks and, loss of control. So I'm not even going to believe what, this conversation is going to be about. So if you can help us ground this concept, I mean, what is self hypnosis really? And how does it support mental and emotional well being?
So, self-hypnosis, a lot of people have those misconceptions about hypnosis and hypnotherapy and self-hypnosis because of a lot of the stage hypnosis that you might see. But it's actually been widely accepted in the medical community for a long time. Most psychiatrists, psychologists support hypnotherapy as a very useful tool to help you overcome things that, maybe that you're having trouble getting past, or even recovering memories, which can be tricky because our minds are very powerful and we can make up memories. But um, have you ever been driving home from work or going to the grocery store, and all of a sudden you just find yourself home and you don't even know that, like, you don't remember getting there. You don't know how you got there. You just ended up there. You were so deep in thought that you ended up at home.
It happens. It happens. I mean, not very frequently, but especially it happened when I was suffering burnout, and I was kind of very much, consciously. I didn't know that I was having burnout, and I was mentally and emotionally drained. But it happens so many times. I didn't even remember when I slept. I didn't even remember when I have had my lunch. When I got back home, how exactly did I, spend my entire day? So
Right.
yes,
So
that has.
your mind was so overwhelmed that it put you into a state of self-hypnosis. And so there's varying degrees, right? We can be sort of in a lighter state of self-hypnosis, or we can be in a deeper state of self-hypnosis. And when you're driving and you lose track of yourself, and in your case, you were so overwhelmed that your mind just sort of did it for you. It checked out a little bit for you. And it's something we can do when we're deep in thought. If you're maybe walking in the woods or taking a walk around your neighborhood, and you're just immersed in your own thoughts so deeply that you sort of get lost in it, right? Lost in your thoughts. That's self-hypnosis. And what we do when we're, as practitioners, as hypnotherapists, is we're deliberately taking you into that space. And so if you've ever done a guided meditation, that's also a form of self-hypnosis. The only difference between hypnotherapy and guided meditation is that hypnotherapy is guided meditation with a goal, with you're working toward maybe letting go of a certain belief pattern that's not working for you anymore, or investigating a certain thought. So so many of us have done hypnotherapy, self-hypnosis, hypnotherapy to ourselves. We decide, hey, I'm going to take this walk and I'm going to think this out until I get to the bottom of it. And you're putting yourself with that repetitive motion of walking and allowing yourself to relax as you walk. You're putting yourself into self-hypnosis. So it's not really self-hypnosis, and hypnotherapy in itself is not extremely woo-woo or even unnatural. It's something that literally everybody's done since the beginning of time. Every human's done it. I'm sure the animals are putting themselves into self-hypnosis regularly.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing abnormal and it's nothing unnatural. So with what I do with my clients and with my podcast, Self Hypnosis for Healing, we utilize that state of mind, that deep internal quiet place. And what hypnosis helps you do is it helps you move past that over analytical point in your brain, that part of your brain that says, like, well, how does this affect me if I do this? And how does this affect me? And why is this? And it just lets you see instead. It sort of slows your brain down and lets you really see and experience things. And what I like to do with my work is take it even a level deeper and help people move into their consciousness. We do a lot of work too with, using your mind and, helping. You can actually use hypnotherapy to change the chemicals in your brain, the neurotransmitters and the hormones. And this is proven. You can utilize hypnotherapy to help, it's the placebo effect, essentially. And it actually can help change very slowly, not like as fast as a drug or something, but it has an effect on how your brain transmits information through your body. And we do a lot of that. But what I really like to do, my real passion when we really are ready to get deep, we do a lot of moving into your consciousness. And from there, you can explore spirituality, the universe. Really, it's unlimited, the things that you can explore from there.
Wow. And are dreams a part of that self hypnosis?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So it's all on a big scale of consciousness. And as you're falling asleep, so you move through these different brain waves, right? So there's the delta, which is very deep, theta, which is a step higher, and alpha. So you're moving through different types of brain waves. And then as you go to sleep, it's not so you're putting yourself into different states of hypnosis as you're falling asleep. Once you're asleep, and different things happen. But to me, I see it as just a continuum of consciousness and brain processing. So while you're asleep, your brain is sort of processing everything that happened to you throughout the day. It's like working like a little filing cabinet, and that's what's going on in your dreams. A lot of times, is you're just processing and processing and processing, and and so you did you know you can't process experiences, especially big traumatic or exciting experiences, until you fall asleep. That's why when you have like a traumatic day, you just get so exhausted by the end of it because because your brain just wants to process. So with hypnotherapy, we can sort of allow for that same processing because you slow your brain waves down to the point where you can actually allow for some of that processing to happen while you're conscious. And that's really the golden nugget of healing with self-hypnosis for healing, or with self-hypnosis, sorry. I just run right into my title. You say something enough times and it just comes out. But that is really the golden nugget of healing, of self-hypnosis healing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is so, I mean, that is so kind of, for me, it's kind of that aha or that a beautiful realization within me because some of my worst traumatic moments, my brain has processed when I have been dreaming, like, just like nightmares. Or sometimes what happens, Elizabeth, that sometimes what I do is just to concentrate before sleeping, I put on some good music or even a good video as well on my brain starts to imagine or connect the words or the person about which that video is, or something, some kind of situation in which that song is playing, and connect it with either some kind of supernatural events, like a fire or a flood, or maybe some kind of traumatic event from my you know life. And I have been always wondering, why do I get these kind of dreams or thoughts? And then I start to Google or use AI to figure out what's wrong with me.
Nothing's wrong with you for sure. And, you know, and I think too, dreams can be extremely prophetic. I have a lot of prophetic dreams. I know my kids have prophetic dreams where you're dreaming about maybe something that's going to happen, and which can also be kind of a curse because then you have a random dream and you're like, oh my gosh, was
Mhm.
that, you know? But sometimes I think you can tell, and sometimes I think also dreams can bring you into that spiritual state of mind where you're connected to spirituality. And maybe if you're dreaming of someone that's passed and it's so real, I think that is real. You know, to me, when I've dreamt of people who I've lost in my life and they've come to me,
Mhm.
you wake up feeling like you were with them. And
Exactly.
on that note, actually, about dreams, since you asked, I have a great story. My best friend growing up, we were born a block away from each other. We were always best friends, our entire lives until our mid-20s. And one night, it was before my wedding, and we had sort of drifted apart, and she was coming to the wedding. Like, it wasn't like we weren't in touch. It was like we weren't close. And I had a dream about her, and I was like so mad at her because in my point of view, I thought she had pulled away. And I'm,
Mhm.
why did you pull away? Like, why aren't we friends anymore? Why can't we just hang out anymore? Like, what's going on? I woke up the next morning and she called me. She said, I had a dream last night that we were hanging out all night, and I woke up so sad that I couldn't just pick up the phone and called you. So I did.
Oh.
And yeah, so I think there are dreams that definitely connect us to each other and to spirituality and to our intuition. So maybe you're dreaming about fire, you're maybe connecting to that. And for me, my advice on this, if you're asking, is
Mhm.
follow what it feels to you. I know there's a lot of information out there about dreams and what they mean and the interpretation of symbolism. I always say,
Mhm.
like, first look inside. And if you have something strong that you believe, that you feel connects to that symbolism, um,
Mhm.
that's it for you. But then if you're
Mhm.
still lost, if you don't feel something, then I say go and look and check the internet and see, what does fire mean to you? Because a lot of the symbolism that talks to us is talking to us in the language of us, you know, of our history. So
Mhm.
the symbolism is out there, and maybe that's why it's coming to you. But personally, I do have a lot of, you know, I'm an intuitive, so, and I don't really, I don't broadcast it, and I don't, you know, sell it. I have no problem with that, of course. But for me, I just do intuitive readings for myself, my friends, my family, my
Mhm.
businesses, you know, and there's a language of symbolism that it talks to me in. And it sounds like that's what you have, is a language of your own symbolism, you know?
Mhm.
So, yeah.
That's beautiful. And it has happened to me a couple of times. Sometimes it will be fire. Sometimes it will be like flood, or I will see some cloudy skies and everything going totally black, and then storms. There was one time when I actually had that dream in the morning, early morning, and then the immediate afternoon, it was I think predicted about a cyclone which is going to hit my city. The eye of the storm exactly passed through that city. I couldn't, I mean, yeah, it could be a coincidence, but then it couldn't be just a vague coincidence. So sometimes I do think that maybe I'm storing a lot of thoughts within me which I'm not able to share with anyone, and that's why it's kind of my brain is subconsciously processing everything. But after listening to you, I think I should definitely work on this.
Absolutely. You definitely have a gift that, and start maybe journaling, because then you'll start
Yeah.
to see what the pattern is. Like for me, when I see flowers being thrown, that's a yes. It's a big yes, you know. Start to write down the symbolism that you're seeing, and then what happens and what you feel about it, and see what the patterns are.
Hmm. Wonderful, wonderful. And also, Elizabeth, you know, from the scientific perspective, some mental health professionals, they see these altered state tools, as unscientific or unreliable.
Mhm.
So, how do you approach that tension between spiritual tools and then the clinical expectations?
So in my work, I try to stay on the spiritual side, because I'm I'm always looking forward. I'm looking towards the future. And in my perspective, and from the things that I've seen in the future, that doesn't exist anymore. We start to move past that separation between science and spirituality, because even if you start to watch the news and you start to investigate these things, you see that the science is actually catching up with the spirituality. It's starting to be able to prove things that we thought were impossible to prove. Similar to, the earth is round. We know it. It's a fact. Pilots fly around it every day, and we used to think it was flat. So I think for me, I just I just don't. And most of the professionals I come in contact with, um, they, at least from the hypnotherapy point of view, they see the benefit in it. When it comes to spirituality and the more science-minded people that I come into contact with,
Mhm.
I've had some great conversations with people, and listening to their perspectives and understanding the perspectives they come from. But for me, I've had too many experiences to think that there is nothing else out there, you know? I've experienced too many coincidences that I don't believe in coincidences anymore. Um, so to the skeptics, give it a try. See if you're still a skeptic afterwards, you know?
Exactly. Exactly. What's the harm?
What's the harm? Exactly. Exactly. So,
Oh, and another interesting aspect of your work is you're also certified in the past life regression therapy.
mhm.
Um, I mean, scientifically, it hasn't been established yet that yes, there is a past life, but then how do you interpret what emerges during those sessions? Whether we take it as symbolic or literal. I mean, how can it be leveraged for real emotional release?
So past life regression is um, really an interesting subject.
Mhm.
Um, on the skeptical side of it, I've had experiences in my own life where even my own son, when I came back from the training, I did a group hypnosis and he fell asleep. But then he woke up the next day and he described dying while building the Sears Tower here in Chicago.
Oh,
And he said, I feel like the year was 1972. And he was 10. So it wasn't like this was, something he'd learned in school yet, or probably
okay.
ever would have. We looked it up, and it was the year, he said he was falling down, and a few men died
Mhm.
in the building the elevator shaft in the Sears Tower. So
Okay.
through things like that, I've come to believe that we are experiencing either our own past lives or something from the collective memory. And for the
Mm-hmm.
healing, as far as for the healing that we get out of that, first of all, if you're getting healing from something, it doesn't matter if it was real or not. That's my belief. If you're healing, you're healing. Personally, I've never experienced a physical healing from a past life regression. I know others that have, but
Okay.
I've experienced profound release from emotional problems that I was having, and mental blocks during past life regression. And the way it works is that your soul has sort of like a chart of its own. And we're born into this life and we forget everything, right? Because it would be a lot. That would be a lot to remember thousands or millions of lifetimes. and miss all the people that we loved and mourn all the mistakes that we made and all of that. So we're born into this life and we don't remember. But our soul remembers deep cutting experiences and deep vows. If you vow to love someone till the end of time, you're going to find them over and over and over again. And that's healing. That's good. If you lose someone and you find out that you've found each other over and over and over again, you feel healing because you realize you're going to find them again, right? If you, in my case, I had my very first past life regression was spontaneous. It happened while I was doing Tai Chi healing, which is similar to Reiki. But I was in a Tai Chi studio in my early 20s, and I was doing some healing on my neck. I had an injury on my neck, and I immediately saw myself being struck in the back of the neck. I was wearing the robes of a monk, and I saw myself being struck in the back of the neck with a big broad sword. It was some sort of spiritual cleansing that was going on.
Wow.
And in Asia somewhere. And I I died, of course, that's the way I died. But up until that point, I had struggled financially a lot in my early years. And even past that point. And so one of the first things I did when I started really getting deeper into meditative healing and things like that is I released myself of that vow of poverty that I had taken as a monk, because the vow that I had taken, and I actually looked this up with the style of monk that the robes that I was wearing, the vow of poverty you take is for every lifetime. And so I set it aside for another time. I gave it up, because I think that's pretty unfair to make a vow for every lifetime. Like, I mean, I don't want to live in poverty, in this life. I just don't. So things like that, where I think you can work with either vows you've taken, things that that have affected you, that your soul is holding on to, in other lifetimes. You can definitely let go of those things and find profound healing. I still have the neck pain. It didn't physically heal me, but mentally and emotionally, it did. So,
Elizabeth, before we wrap up, if our listeners would like to connect with you, what will be the best way to do that?
So my website is elizabethcatherine.com, Catherine with a C. And my podcast is the main thing I'm doing right now, and it's called Self Hypnosis for Healing. It should be on all the major podcast venues, and I can provide you a link if you'd like for your show notes. And good.
Great. I'll make sure to have all the links in the show notes. And Elizabeth, I couldn't thank you enough for such a grounded and graceful conversation. I think some of the myths around self hypnosis have been busted, at least for me, and I'm very sure for our listeners as well. But thank you so much for inviting all of us to slow down, listen inward, and also trust that healing doesn't always have to come through struggle.
No, it definitely doesn't. Thank you so much. This was such a great conversation. I really enjoyed connecting with you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. So to all the listeners, remember that inner peace doesn't come from avoiding pain, but facing it gently. And to connect with Elizabeth, just refer to the show notes. Go and listen to her podcast. I'll have all the links in the show notes. And until next time, stay soft, stay steady, and stay rooted in your journey. This is Inner Peace, Better Health.